Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call as we talk sports with you 7 nights a week right here. Same time, same station. It's 412-575-2600. Bob Pompeani with you until 11 o'clock tonight. So if you want to get a call in, all you have to do is call it right now, or you can hit me up on Twitter, also at KD Pomp. And a reminder to you to join us for the #1 Cochrane Sports Showdown. That's tonight after the late news. We're going to have Jason Mackey, Mark Caboli, and Will Graves. A lot of good talk concerning the Steelers, what happened this past week as they head into the offseason, what they should do, not just with offensive coordinators, but also with players, quarterback room, what's that going to look like? So a lot of that is certainly welcome here tonight. All you have to do is call us at 412-575-2600. What a day in football today. Two really good games. Detroit and Tampa. You got to give Tampa a lot of credit. They fought to the very end. Baker Mayfield had a really good day until the final pass, which was picked off. It was very similar to the pass that we saw yesterday from Jordan Love in Green Bay. Not so much that he was rolling right and throwing against his grain to the middle of the field, but he threw it right into coverage, and that ended any shot of Tampa Bay coming back in this game. But a big effort by Mike Evans for them. On Detroit side, Jahmyr Gibbs is something else. Watching him run, and certainly Jared Goff. What a nice trade that was really for both teams. Matt Stafford goes out west, he goes there, and he's been really stable for them. He's been good when he's had to be. He raises his level of play, and guys like Sam Laporta. What a great rookie class this has been. If I had to give you a choice of who you would take, from C.J. Stroud to Puka Nacua, both rookies, Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta, two on the same team with the Lions. Who would you pick? I think Stroud will get it, but man, all those guys have been outstanding in their first year in the National Football League. So next week, you're going to have Buffalo or Kansas City versus Baltimore down in Baltimore. That's a championship game. And can't say enough about Patrick Mahomes. You know, it wasn't his best season, but man, he was able to come up with big plays at big times like he always does. 2 touchdown passes to Travis Kelce today in Buffalo, and it looked like the Bills got a break when the fumble went out of the end zone, denying Kansas City what looked like a touchdown or a soon-to-be touchdown. Instead, they got the ball, and they had a chance to tie it, and Tyler Bass, who's normally pretty good, and of all things, he misses it wide to the right, which are 2 words that Buffalo fans just never want to hear, going back to the Norwood days. But wide right ends it for them. They didn't have a chance to stop the clock after that. They could have, but they couldn't stop the run game of Isaiah Pacheco. So Kansas City, regardless of what you think, maybe it's a down year, maybe they have to go on the road and win, and they did. And this will be the 6th straight years. Think about Patrick Mahomes. He's never missed an AFC championship game in his first several years on the job. It's pretty amazing what they've done, and they will be at Baltimore, and that should be quite a game. That'll be the first game next Sunday. You'll see it on KDKA TV, and the second game will be Detroit at San Francisco, and that, based on the way San Francisco kind of struggled yesterday against Green Bay, you wonder if Detroit can go in there and get it done. And if so, it could be a rematch of the NFL first game of the season this year, which was Detroit at Kansas City. And it could be Detroit at Kansas City in the Super Bowl again. So a lot of interesting stuff going on there, but 2 very good games today. In the meantime, we're also going to talk about Steeler needs in the offseason. Call me with your thoughts on that. And on top of that, the Penguins, who had a 2-0 lead last night and blew it in the third period. It kind of fell asleep in the third period. And the ironic thing was they had 4 days off leading into that game. It seemed like they were the ones who ran out of gas. And Vegas has had a lot of injury, and they came up with a really good third period. Too many chances in front of Tristan Jarry. The first one, Marchessault puts it in. It really wasn't on the goaltender, but I thought the next 2 could have been saved by Jarry. I was praising him for how he's done in the last 4 games, and then in that third period, everything changed. And the Penguins get 0 points. And really, those are the kinds of points at the end of the season you may look back and say, man, if they only had that game, if they won that game, they could have gotten into the playoffs. That's how tight things are in the Eastern Conference. So we have a lot to get into, and we want to hear from you. It's 412-575-2600. That's the number to call every single night of the week right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We'll open up the phone lines and take them next, right here on KDKA+. All right, welcome back. Our GMC Sierra Tweet, our X of the night, comes from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. 32 years ago on this day, the Steelers made a good decision and hired Bill Cowher, who turned out to be a Hall of Fame coach. now, of course, on CBS doing his job there, but that was the successor to Chuck Noll. Not an easy thing to do, follow a legend like that, but he did it, and he became one himself. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. Let us know what you think. I just want to throw this number out just to show you how good it's been for Patrick Mahomes against the Buffalo Bills, which is a good defense. And yet, in 3 playoff games, and he's 3-0 against the Bills, 75% completion percentage in these 3 wins, all high-stakes poker games, 306 yards average per game, and 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he continued to do his magic today, so Mahomes is going to a 6th consecutive AFC Championship game. All right, let's get some calls in. Hear from you right here at 412-575-2600. JB in Shady Side. Hey, JB, you're up. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, Pomp?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. All right, so I think, honestly, we should trade Watt and try to get like 2 defensive starters, competent players, but then hit the draft, maybe get like, a first, maybe 2 second rounders, and do kind of what the Lions did. I mean, they totally changed the trajectory of their team by trading their most valuable asset. And I think we need to do something like that. I don't know that the Rooneys will. They seem risk-averse to me. But that's what I would do. I think you could change things pretty quickly.
I know. Well, listen, I know that Ron Cook of the Post-Gazette agrees with you. He wrote about that. And we've been bannering this about for a while now. When you get to a point where you have a guy like that who's so valuable, but that's the thing. He's so valuable to your team as well. I don't know what a trade market would fetch. There's a lot of speculation about what you could get for a guy like TJ Watt, although he's getting up there in age, and no matter who you are, age does make a difference. You have to ask yourself, if you're a team that would be acquiring him, how many years. You have to be close, I would think, to winning, and if so, you'd have to give up a lot. Can you afford to do both? That is, try to win with him and give up a lot at the same time. I don't think the Steelers would do it. Quite frankly, I wouldn't do it either. I think they have other opportunities to improve their team. Much of that has to be on offense. The defense, I think, if you give a better offensive performance and score more points, will make that defense even better, because they won't be on the field as much. I think we saw later in the year, the less they're on the field, the better they were. That's true of all defenses. You don't want to be on the field for 65% of the game. If you are, you're going to get worn down. So I wouldn't do it, although I understand why people would ask, is that something you should consider? I would say this: I'll listen to anyone who wants to call. If I'm a GM, tell me what you're thinking, and it never hurts to do that. Let's go to Kirk in Manor. Hey, Kirk, welcome to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. What's up?
Good evening, Bob. How are you?
I'm good. You?
Hey, a quick question. Why do not the Steelers do the same thing that Dallas is doing with Mike McCarthy, have him earn a raise or a pay raise or an extension? Not make Tomlin earn.
Well, I think the difference there is that Mike McCarthy has been there for 4 years. He has his staff with him for those 4 years. I mean, he's gotten rid of and made some tweaks, but generally the people who've been there have been there. So it's the same. If you're an offensive coordinator, you're looking to come to Pittsburgh, the last thing you want is a coach on 1 year left. And if it doesn't work, you'll be out of a job 1 year later. So I think from that point of view, that was probably part of their thinking. You got to, they've been stable to begin with, and now we're even more stable if you look at another contract extension. So if you're a coordinator, you certainly would want that to be part of the decision. You don't want 1 year and then all of a sudden you're out of a job again. So that's part of it. I find it interesting that Mike Tomlin did mention that he is looking for someone who's done this before. So it kind of limits the field. There are a lot of good quality coaches who haven't been coordinators yet, and all you have to do is look at the San Francisco tree for all these people. LaFleur, along with Kyle Shanahan, were assistants before they ever got to be coordinators on the same team, same staff with Kyle's father. And sometimes you just need to get a guy a chance, a younger guy. But they may not be willing to do that right now with what they have. But whoever they hire has got to be someone who gets a system in here that makes Kenny Pickett better. If their desire is to get the most out of their number 1 pick, then they have to have someone who has a much better scheme that we've seen. So we'll see how that goes. Back to the lines we go, and Frank in Plum joins us right now on the hotline. What's up, Frank?
Hi, Bob. How you doing?
Good. What's going on?
I think that would be stupid to trade T.J. Watt. I really think we need some inside linebackers and some defensive backs.
Yeah, well, they had inside linebackers and they all got hurt. I think those guys were starting to come together. Now, Quan Alexander is a free agent, so you got to figure out what you're going to do with him. But I thought, Holcomb was really developing into somebody you could count on, certainly. Landon Roberts in and out of the lineup with injury, but he's a keeper, I think, at least for next year. But yeah, you'd like to have more depth there. Mark Robinson got more time to play at the end of the year, and he started to make some plays. But bottom line is they need healthy guys, too. You see, if you look around the NFL, attrition is a real problem. I mean, at the end of 17 weeks, going to 18 weeks and into the playoffs, man, there are a lot of people who have been missing big. Buffalo's one of those teams. Gabe Davis didn't play tonight for them. He is a big time, had 4 touchdowns 2 years ago at Kansas City. He wasn't in there. You got to have health as this whole thing moves on. And if you don't have it, you better have a lot of depth. So they need to make sure of that. Meanwhile, I'm still curious about what happens in the quarterback department. Kenny Pickett will be back, but does Mason Rudolph come back after what he heard from Mike Tomlin, which was Kenny Pickett is still QB1, but it will be a competition. He's heard that before, and he's seen that before, and it wasn't necessarily a legitimate open competition. So is he coming back to be a backup? But if so, I guess if you make the right price and he sees it as an opportunity to make some money at this stage, he'll take it. But if he's looking to become a starter and there's something out there beyond Pittsburgh, he may be tempted to do that. So I think that's going to be one of the closer stories we follow in this offseason as well. Let's go out to WC, or is it Woo in North Hills? Whoa, I was 0 for 2 there. What's up, Whoa?
What I'm calling for, a couple of things. I want to defend Pickett as the quarterback at Pitt. What I recall, when Pickett went down, the Steelers were 7-4. This was all under Canada. Along with that, he was 7-4. Couldn't throw the ball downfield, wasn't allowed to audible. Along with that, the first game after Canada was gone, I think it was since 2018, was the first time the Steelers went over 400 yards.
Yep, 58 games in a row.
Then right after that, the next game, went down the field, they scored. He was moving that offense.
So you're saying you're good with...
He got hurt. Then he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And Trubisky come in, and it went downhill from there. All I'm saying, everybody's bad-mouthing Pickett. Not everybody, but the guy he was under Canada. He went 7-4. He couldn't throw downfield. He couldn't audible.
Well, he could have, and I think, I don't know what's real. You can hear what you hear about this stuff about they could not. I can't believe a quarterback in his second year who's a starter couldn't audible. I'm sure he did change plays. I also think there were throws that maybe he didn't want to throw because he was told not to make mistakes. And I think sometimes you get defensive in your way of thinking. You don't make the throws that you think you can make, but there's some risk involved. So I think there has to be more freedom, more imagination. And yes, can he handle it? I hope he can. He was their number 1 pick, 20th overall. They better have him do that. But at the same time, I would not rule out others who come in here. And Mason Rudolph did a very good job in that opportunity. So they want him back. The question is how much, and will he get a fair chance to start? And if they answer those questions not the way Mason Rudolph may want, then all of a sudden they're going to have a problem on their hands. He may go elsewhere. We'll see. It's going to be very fascinating. Alex in Brentwood is on the hotline. Hey, Alex, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing? I don't think any credible coordinator with some good NFL history who watches film would want to come here with Kenny Pickett as their quarterback, especially if you lose Mason Rudolph to free agency. I don't think anybody would be interested in this job with Kenny Pickett, do you?
You might be. You might be right. I mean, it depends on. There are a lot of people who say after 25 games you have a pretty good idea what you have at quarterback. I've seen flashes of really good things from Kenny Pickett. I'm hoping that's a more consistent thing, and it starts at the beginning of the game and continues through the fourth quarter, not just the fourth quarter. There are too many slow starts. I don't know if it's him, the scheme, whatever. But you're right. I mean, offensive coordinators are going to look at what they have in terms of potential in that quarterback room, which is why I think the Steelers are going to add on to it. They're going to sign somebody, Mason plus somebody, if they get their way. And if not, they're going to have to come up with a couple of people there. So I think it's an unwritten story, and it's going to be one that we follow closely here throughout the offseason, which is already underway. And first things first, they got to sign an offensive coordinator. We'll find out what that also means with respect to the rest of the offensive staff. Because if you are a good OC, you're going to want people with you that you know and trust. And that may mean other coaching staff decisions will be made. We'll see. Got to take a break. Come back with more. It's 412-575-2600. Join us tonight. Again, #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, 1135 KDKA. We will be right back. And you wonder what's next for the Buffalo Bills. This is a team that fired its offensive coordinator midway through the season. Ken Dorsey out, Joe Brady in. They made progress. They won their last 5. They beat the Steelers in the postseason. And then they lost again to the normal Kansas City team, which they seem to really own the Buffalo Bills. As I said, Mahomes 3-0 against them. He's kind of ripped up their really vaunted defense. And you wonder what's going to happen now with decision-making in that program. Just because at some point with Josh Allen, who again played a good game, there were some throws at the end I really had my problems with him. When they were getting close to that field goal attempt, they could have gotten the first down and just kept the ball rolling there. But they chose to throw into the end zone and then roll to the right and throw it away. But they got some decisions to make about where they're going next, because these are prime years that they're missing out on. And I know it's tough to be in the same conference with Patrick Mahomes, but that's what it is. Let's go to Rudy real quick in Castle Shannon. Hey, Rudy, what's up?
Hey, how you tonight?
Good, thanks.
I just want to know, how you going to get Rudolph under a contract when Trubisky's still under a contract?
You just release, you save money on Trubisky. There's a cap hit involved, but you don't pay a salary to him. So he'll be gone, and they'll have to figure out what to do. They could use some of that money on Mason, up his pay if they want, to make him either the backup or the starter or a competition, and then add another. They're going to have to spend on another quarterback as well. All right, we have more to talk about tonight, as I said, on KDKA Sports at 11 o'clock, followed by the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. In the meantime, we want to thank you for joining us here tonight. We'll be back with you tomorrow at 10:35, so please call anytime right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Have a good night and a good week.